The ghost of vengeance. The darkness of space rippled like disturbed water. Where nothing had existed moments before, a massive vessel materialized silently above Arcturus Prime. No warnings, no hyperspace signature, nothing to indicate arrival, just instant presence. The warship was an imposing silhouette against the blue-green planet below, its hull decorated with battle scars and what appeared to be primitive propulsion systems by current galactic standards. Grand Admiral Vexus dropped his ceremonial chalice. Purple liquid splattered across the observatory deck as he stared in disbelief at the vessel that had appeared without triggering a single proximity alarm. "What in the seven systems is that?" he demanded, mandibles clicking nervously. "Why wasn't I notified of an approaching vessel?" The sensor technician, a young Arcturian with freshly molted carapace, frantically tapped at holographic displays. "Sir, there was no approach. It just appeared. Sensors show no wormhole residue, no jump signature." "Impossible," Vexus snapped, but the evidence hovered before them, defying conventional physics. The warship was unlike anything in the Imperial database. Its design suggested functionality over aesthetics, brutally efficient rather than elegant. Most peculiar was the insignia painted on its broadside, a blue sphere with green continents surrounded by 13 stars. An emblem not seen in the galaxy for over 300 years. "Magnify that symbol," Vexus ordered, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Verify against historical archives." The technician's claws trembled as the results appeared. "Sir, it's human." The word hung in the air like a death sentence. Humans were extinct. Everyone knew that. The species had destroyed itself in a civil war that consumed their homeworld and scattered colonies centuries ago. The Arcturian Empire had expanded into the vacuum they left behind, claiming abandoned human outposts and repurposing their primitive technology. "That's not possible," Vexus said. "Run the check again." Before the technician could comply, the massive viewscreen flickered, interrupting with an incoming transmission. The image resolved into a face that sent shivers down Vexus's exoskeleton. A human face. Female. Dark skin, closely cropped silver hair, and eyes that reflected centuries of determination. She wore a simple gray uniform with that same 13-star insignia on her shoulder. "This is Captain Ilara Ward of the Earth Alliance Warship Reckoning," the human said without preamble. "I'm here to speak with whoever leads your empire now." The bridge fell silent. A dead species was addressing them with perfect calm, as if returning from a routine patrol rather than extinction. Vexus composed himself. "This is Grand Admiral Vexus of the Arcturian Imperial Fleet. Your appearance has taken us by surprise, Captain. Humanity was believed extinct for the past 3 centuries. The human's expression didn't change. That's the story you've been telling, isn't it? Convenient for expanding into our territories while claiming we destroyed ourselves. I assure you, our historical records, our propaganda." Ward interrupted. "We watched you rewrite our history after the Arcturus offensive. We saw you paint us as savages who couldn't control our own technology. We observed as you dismantled our colonies and stripped our resources while telling the galaxy we had annihilated ourselves." Vexus felt his secondary heart beginning to race. "Captain, perhaps we should discuss this privately with the Imperial Council rather than through an open channel." "No more secrets," Ward replied. "My ship carries the truth, and every world in your empire will hear it within the hour." As if to emphasize her point, the human vessel shifted position without visible propulsion. One moment it was stationary. The next it had moved closer to Arcturus Prime. The movement wasn't just impossible, it was terrifying. Their sensors couldn't even track how it happened. Alarms blared across the command center as defensive systems automatically activated in response to the perceived threat. Plasma arrays powered up, targeting the mysterious vessel. "Stand down your weapons," Ward warned. "We didn't come to start a war, but we're certainly equipped to finish one." Vexus signaled frantically to deactivate the defense grid. "Captain, you must understand our position. A warship appears without warning, claiming to represent a species thought extinct. Thought extinct because you made it so. Ward finished for him. Your empire declared us dead to justify stealing everything we built. Behind Vexus, the door to the command center hissed open. Emperor Xavik strode in, his golden carapace glittering under the emergency lights. The Emperor was young by Arcturian standards, having ascended to the throne only 20 cycles ago. Unlike most of his species, he carried himself with an air of genuine curiosity rather than inherited arrogance. Admiral. Xavik acknowledged Vexus before turning his attention to the screen. I am Emperor Xavik. You have my attention, Captain Ward. Ward inclined her head slightly, not quite respectful, but acknowledging the direct approach. Your ancestors declared war on humanity during your great expansion. When we refused to surrender our outer colonies, your forces deployed bioweapons against our civilian populations. You expected quick capitulation. These are serious allegations, Xavik said, his tone measured. Our records indicate. Your records were written by the victors. Ward interrupted. What they don't show is that a segment of humanity escaped. We went dark. We disappeared into uncharted space while your empire claimed our worlds. The Emperor's antennae twitched, a sign of genuine surprise. And you've remained hidden for 3 centuries. We adapted. We evolved. We remembered. Ward's eyes narrowed. And now we've returned with technology your sensors can't even comprehend. As if to demonstrate, the human warship flickered, not just on the view screen, but in reality. For a brief moment, it seemed to exist in multiple positions simultaneously before resolidifying. The sensor technician gasped. Sir, during that fluctuation, our scanners picked up energy readings off the scale. And there are more ships. Hundreds more, just beyond our detection range, all using the same masking technology. Emperor Xavik maintained his composure, but Vexus could see the ruler's inner eyelids blinking rapidly, a sign of acute stress. What do you want, Captain? Xavik asked directly. Justice, Ward replied without hesitation. Recognition of historical truths, reparations for stolen worlds, and the return of something specific your ancestors took from Earth before declaring us extinct, Project Prometheus. Vexus exchanged a glance with the Emperor. Project Prometheus was classified at the highest level. Only the ruling council knew of its existence, and even they didn't fully understand the ancient human technology stored in the deepest vaults beneath the Imperial Palace. I'm not familiar with this project, Xavik said carefully. Ward smiled for the first time, a cold expression devoid of humor. Your lie detector implants are flashing under your carapace. Emperor, your species always was terrible at deception. Security officers moved protectively closer to Xavik as the implications became clear. The humans knew intimate details about Arcturian physiology and technology. They had been watching, studying, preparing. How long have you been infiltrating our society? Vexus demanded. Long enough to know that Project Prometheus isn't technology you found, Ward replied. It's technology you stole, the culmination of humanity's quantum research before your empire's attacks forced us into hiding. The very technology that allows this ship to appear and disappear at will. The Emperor stepped forward. Captain Ward, I propose a direct meeting. My palace with appropriate security guarantees for both sides. We should discuss these matters face to face. Ward considered this for a moment. You have 3 hours to prepare. I'll arrive alone, but be aware that the reckoning remains fully operational under my executive officer's command. The transmission cut abruptly. The massive warship remained visible through the viewports, an impossible relic from a supposedly dead civilization. Emperor Xavik turned to Vexus, his voice low enough that only the Admiral could hear. Assemble all available fleet assets, quietly, and have the archivists pull every record we have on Project Prometheus and the human extinction campaigns. You believe these allegations? Vexus asked. I believe, Xavik replied, that our empire's foundation myths are about to be severely tested, and I suspect our ancestors weren't as honorable as our history claims. In the security center 3 levels below, Lieutenant Mira Kivash reviewed the transmission with growing unease. Unlike her colleagues, she understood exactly what the human's return meant. The dormant programming in her brain, implanted at birth by human agents within the Empire, had activated upon hearing Captain Ward's voice. Mira was one of hundreds of sleeper agents embedded throughout Imperial society. Born Arcturian, but loyal to Earth, she had lived her entire life waiting for this moment. With trembling claws, she accessed her secure terminal and sent a single encrypted signal. Lazarus Protocol initiated. Across Arcturus Prime and a dozen core worlds of the Empire, similar signals were being sent. The human revenge, 3 centuries in the planning, had begun. Meanwhile, in the Emperor's private chambers, Ktavik examined an ancient artifact kept hidden from public knowledge. A simple metal sphere with a pulsing blue light at its center. The only remaining piece of Project Prometheus, not locked in the Imperial vaults. For generations, his family had guarded this device, never fully understanding its purpose but recognizing its importance. Now, as he held it in his claws, the sphere responded differently. The blue light pulsed in a new pattern, and faint lines of code scrolled across its surface. Ancient human script that translated itself into modern Arcturian before his eyes. Verification complete. Ward Ilara. Prometheus Protocol authorized. And Ktavik realized the terrifying truth. The humans hadn't just returned. They had never truly left. The reckoning dawned. The Imperial Palace of Arcturus Prime had never seemed so vulnerable. Despite its kilometer-high spires and energy shields capable of withstanding orbital bombardment, a sense of fragility permeated its crystalline halls. Guards stood at triple their usual numbers, their exoskeletons polished to a mirror shine that failed to hide their nervousness. Emperor Ktavik waited in the grand audience chamber, the ancient sphere from Project Prometheus resting on a pedestal beside his throne. He had dismissed his advisors despite their vehement protests. This meeting needed truth, not political maneuvering. "She's approaching, Your Radiance," announced the Chief of Security. Alone, as promised. Ktavic's mandibles clicked softly, and our defenses. Full alert, though our sensors still cannot properly track the human vessel. It remains in orbit, weapons systems in an indeterminate state. The massive doors to the chamber swung open. Captain Ilara Ward strode in with the confidence of someone entering her own home, rather than the stronghold of a potentially hostile empire. She wore the same gray uniform as before, unadorned except for the 13-star insignia. No visible weapons, though the Emperor suspected she hardly needed any. "Captain Ward," Ktavik acknowledged, rising from his throne. "Welcome to Arcturus Prime." Ward's eyes immediately fixed on the sphere beside him. "You've brought out a fragment of Prometheus. That's unexpected honesty. If we're to discuss the past truthfully, we should begin with this," the Emperor replied. "This device has been in my family's possession for generations. We've never fully understood its purpose." "It's a key," Ward said simply, approaching the pedestal. "One of 13 scattered across human space before your ancestors rewrote our history." The Emperor gestured toward an arrangement of seats, intentionally positioned on equal footing rather than forcing the human to look up at his throne. "Please, sit. I believe we have much to discuss about this revised history." Ward remained standing. "First, I want to confirm something." She reached into her pocket and removed a small device, placing it on the floor between them. A holographic projection sprang to life, a 3-dimensional star map of the Empire. "This is the official map of the Arcturian Empire as taught to every child in your education system," she said. The map shifted, colors changing across dozens of star systems. "And this is the actual map of former human territories incorporated into your empire under false pretenses. Nearly 60% of the map changed color." "That's not possible," Ktavik whispered, though the sinking feeling in his thorax suggested otherwise. Our expansion was primarily into unclaimed or abandoned sectors. Convenient that they were abandoned just as your forces arrived, Ward replied coolly. Your ancestors were thorough in erasing our presence. They destroyed our monuments, repurposed our cities, and within a generation, claimed it had always been Arcturian territory. The Emperor's secondary eyes blinked rapidly. These are serious allegations against my ancestors, Captain. What evidence supports your claims beyond this map? The evidence has been living among you for centuries, Ward said. She tapped her communication device. Activate Lazarus Protocol. Authorization Prometheus Omega. Throughout the palace, across the capital city, and throughout the core worlds of the Empire, thousands of seemingly loyal Arcturian citizens simultaneously stopped what they were doing. Their eyes flashed with an inner light as dormant neural programming activated. In the security center, Lieutenant Mira Kavash's hands flew across her console, bypassing security protocols she had helped design. Around her, confused colleagues suddenly found their weapons systems non-responsive. What's happening? Demanded the chief of palace security as alerts flashed across his displays. We're losing control of defense networks. In orbit, the Reckoning remained motionless while Imperial warships scrambled to surround it. Yet across the fleet, critical systems began failing as sleeper agents embedded in key positions executed their long-dormant orders. Back in the throne room, Emperor Xavik received frantic communications from his military command. What have you done? He demanded of Ward. What your ancestors forced us to do, she replied calmly. When the Arcturian Empire began its campaign against humanity, we realized we couldn't win through conventional warfare. Your forces outnumbered ours. Your technology was compatible with ours but more refined. So we created a generational plan. She gestured to the sphere. Project Prometheus wasn't just technology, it was a survival strategy. While most humans retreated to deep space, others stayed behind, genetically modified to appear Arcturian. For 10 generations, these sleeper agents have integrated into your society, reproducing, rising through your ranks, waiting for this moment. The Emperor's mind raced through the implications. You're saying that some of my people are human. Not some, Ward corrected. Approximately 12% of your current population carries modified human DNA, activated by specific triggers built into Project Prometheus. They've lived as loyal citizens until today. Outside the palace windows, transport ships across the capital city suddenly changed course, converging on predetermined locations. The carefully orchestrated plan unfolded with precision, born from centuries of patience. Why now? Xavik asked. After all this time, Ward approached the sphere, her hand hovering near its surface. Because the final piece is ready. The quantum technology your ancestors stole was incomplete, intentionally so. We needed 300 years for the remaining components to fully mature in deep space. The sphere pulsed brighter as it sensed her proximity. Ancient human text scrolled across its surface. You could have simply destroyed us, the Emperor noted. These sleeper agents could have sabotaged our core systems centuries ago. Extinction was your way, Ward replied. Not ours. We don't want to destroy the Arcturian Empire. We want to reclaim what was taken and establish a new equilibrium. Humanity is returning to the galactic stage. But we're not seeking vengeance. We're seeking recognition. A lieutenant burst into the chamber, mandibles clicking frantically. Your radiance. Defense systems empire-wide are offline. The human vessel is multiplying. Through the massive viewports, they could see the truth. Where one warship had hovered before, hundreds now appeared, materializing from what seemed like nowhere, the hidden human fleet revealing itself at last. Quantum ghosting, Ward explained. Our ships have been here all along, existing just slightly out of phase with normal spacetime, a development of the technology your ancestors tried to steal. The Emperor sank back onto his throne. So this is conquest after all? No. Ward shook her head. It's revelation. The sleeper agents don't answer to me. They answer to the truth. Each carries genuine memories of both human and Arcturian heritage. They'll serve as bridges between our civilizations. She finally touched the sphere. It responded immediately, rising into the air and projecting a vast holographic display, schematics for technology beyond the Empire's current understanding. This is the complete Prometheus protocol, quantum displacement technology, renewable energy systems that could power your worlds for millennia, medical advances that could extend Arcturian lifespans threefold. All the innovations your ancestors thought they were stealing, completed and improved upon during our centuries in exile. And what do you want in exchange? Kavik asked wearily. Acknowledgement, Ward said simply. The Empire must formally recognize the truth of our shared history. The stolen worlds must acknowledge their human heritage. And Project Prometheus, all 13 keys, must be returned to human custody. The Emperor considered his options, though he knew they were limited. His military was effectively neutralized, his population infiltrated, and an overwhelming force surrounded his capital. Yet the human wasn't demanding surrender or subjugation, merely truth and specific restitution. What happens to the Empire if I agree? It continues with adjustments, Ward replied. Joint human Arcturian governance in formerly human territories, open exchange of technology and culture. A true alliance rather than conquest disguised as natural expansion. Ktavik's antennae quivered slightly, not with fear, but with an unexpected emotion. Relief. The weight of imperial history, built on lies he had inherited but never questioned, had always troubled him. There is something you should know, Captain, he said, reaching beneath his ceremonial armor to extract a small medallion. I've suspected parts of this truth for years. He handed her the medallion. On its surface was a familiar pattern. Earth, surrounded by 13 stars, overlaid with Arcturian script. Ward's composed expression faltered for the first time. This is a resistance token. From the early occupation years. My grandmother gave it to me before she died, Zavik explained. She told me to keep it hidden, that someday it would matter. I never understood until now. For a moment, Captain Ward was speechless. Then understanding dawned in her eyes. You're one of us, a sleeper lineage in the imperial family itself. I don't know, Zavik admitted, but I've always felt different, less certain of our superiority, more questioning of our historical narratives. Ward smiled. A genuine expression this time, not the cold one from their first encounter. The Prometheus protocol includes genetic markers. When I activated it, it would have triggered awareness in anyone with the appropriate DNA sequence. And did I change? The Emperor asked, examining his own claws as if expecting to see them transform. You already know the answer to that, Ward replied. If you felt a moment of clarity rather than confusion when I activated the protocol, you have human heritage. The Emperor nodded slowly. The strange sense of rightness he'd experienced wasn't imagination. It was genetic memory awakening. Part of him had always known the Empire's history was built on fabrications. Beyond the palace walls, the capital city had fallen eerily quiet. No resistance, no chaos, just a population processing the revelation of their dual heritage as sleeper agents helped maintain order during the transition. I accept your terms, Kazavik declared, rising to his full height. The Arcturian Empire formally acknowledges humanity's return and the historical injustices committed against your species. He extended his upper limb in the traditional Arcturian gesture of alliance. Ward clasped it with her human hand, the contrast between her 5 fingers and his 4-clawed appendage a visual representation of their differences and their potential for unity. This day marks a new beginning, Ward said, not just for humans or Arcturians, but for a unified future. The sphere between them pulsed once more, projecting a new map, a vision of shared territories, cooperative governance, integrated defenses. 3 centuries of planning had culminated not in revenge, but in reconciliation. In the skies above Arcturus Prime, the human fleet maintained its position. not as conquerors but as returning neighbors. Messages began spreading across the empire, explaining the truth, activating dormant memories, and revealing the complex web of human Arcturian heritage that had been hidden for generations. Lieutenant Mira Kivash stood at her console, experiencing the strange dual awareness of her Arcturian upbringing and her human genetic memory. Like thousands of others across the empire, she was both species at once, the living bridge between two civilizations that should have been allies from the beginning. In the throne room, Emperor Kavik accessed the Imperial broadcast system. It was time to address his people, all of his people, with the truth they deserved. Citizens of the Arcturian Empire, he began, today we discover that our past is not what we believed, but our future can be greater than we ever imagined. As he spoke, the ancient sphere of Project Prometheus floated between him and Captain Ward, its light illuminating them equally. The Emperor with a hidden human heritage, and the human captain who had orchestrated the most patient revolution in galactic history. The Ghost Warship had not come to destroy the Empire. It had come to transform it.